What's up everyone, it's the Chungler and I am back with my FE8 efficiency playthrough. They were playing chapter 16 and this kind of marks the back third of the playthrough. We finally have the warp staff, which is going to change a lot about how maps are played, and you'll see that right away. Mulder warps Seth on turn 1 into this little corridor here. This is so that Sally can warp Seth into the boss room on turn 1. And to do that, Cormag is going to have to grab the warp staff and move it to a place where Sally can reach it and still keep moving. So Sally is going to go next to Cormag, grab the warp staff, and then warp Cormag into that same corridor. This is so that Cormag can protect some of our units from the fighters that you see pretty close by. Tethys is going to be near that area and she dies to 2 fighters. Sally is going to be there and he dies to all 3. So, but first, to get Sally to Seth, we're going to have to kill this mercenary in the way, which Vanessa will kindly do for us after getting the silver lance from Dusel last chapter. And Sally will warp Seth right into the boss room. This is pretty scary. If you know anything about this boss room, it has 2 promoted sages with siege domes. It has 3 promoted heroes and 3 knights, one of which has a Horseslayer. So these are some really dangerous enemies here. Seth is going to kill one of the sages on turn 1. He's going to use a killer lance so that he has the potential to avoid a counterattack, which he did here, which is really nice. Tana and Noel are going to work together to rescue drop Tethys closer to some of our units farther into the map. And that's where I said that Cormag would need to block off some of those fighters because Tethys would be pretty close. And here's the start of this enemy phase. This is the Horseslayer fighter, that Horseslayer armor knight that actually hits Seth, which is really scary. Seth only faces around 1 hit rate that's over 50%, but that guy is really scary. It's the Silver Axe hero in the boss room, and he does like 14 damage to Seth at a pretty good hit. And the rest of the enemies are no slouches either. As you saw, the Horseslayer knight, even though he doesn't have a lot of hit, does a lot of damage. The Bolting Sage doesn't have a lot of hit, but does a lot of damage. So not all of these enemies have to hit Seth for him to die. So really not a great enemy phase. Thankfully it's on turn 1, so we can just reset if it doesn't work, but it's still really bad. Sometimes I have Seth attack a hero instead of the Sage, because the Sage will still attack Seth at 1 range on enemy phase because he doesn't move. And potentially crit killing a hero before they can attack us is really nice. I just decided to kill the Sage this time. Thankfully Seth is going to survive, but he was at around 3 HP by the time the Spear Knight and Bolting Sage both attacked him, so he easily could have died here. There's 2 priests in the boss room, and they're actually really annoying because they don't die on enemy phase, and they like to block our path to Orsin, the boss. Orsin is another reason why this map is so scary, because he's really hard to kill, meaning that sometimes you're kind of basically forced to take an enemy phase in this really scary room. So on turn 2, obviously we have to heal Seth. We're going to have him use an elixir and stand next to Orsin with a Horseslayer. The Horseslayer has really bad hit, has only around 55 hit with both skill books, and it doesn't even 2-shot Orsin, which is really sad, honestly. So because Seth doesn't 2-shot Orsin with the Horseslayer, we're going to warp Vanessa into the boss room as a backup in case Seth doesn't hit 3 out of 4 Horseslayers, which is not that likely anyway. Vanessa has a spear, so if Seth hits 2 of his Horseslayers, Vanessa can back him up with a hit from the spear to kill Orsin. If we had a Lance Reaver here, that would be ideal because we could have 2 attacks with a Horseslayer on enemy phase here, and then player phase Orsin with Lance Reaver, which has really good hit. You know, somewhere in the mid 80s, which is not perfect, but it's still way better than anything else we've got. So really wish I had a Lance Reaver here. we're gonna have to go for a shitty boss kill instead. Ardor and Myrrh are going to be training in the bottom part of the map. Myrrh is a unit we just got this chapter. Her base stats are actually pretty good considering the Dragonstone bonuses she gets, but she has really low HP. She needs to get trained for a few boss kills later in the game, because her Dragonstone is really good against some of them. It's one of our highest might weapons, and she's going to be our unit with probably the highest strength for some of the later game boss kills. Mulder, who used Warp on turn 1, kind of needs to get out of the way so that Myrrh and Ardor can keep training. So Cormag is going to rescue him, and one of Null's Phantoms is going to drop him. Really underrated use of Phantoms is that they can take drop from people, which is really nice. And them also being disposable is great. Now on turn 2, I was actually kind of scared of the heroes, but they actually ran away because they were below half health, which is funny. So even if Seth doesn't crit kill them with a Killer Lance, a lot of times they will still just run away and you won't have to deal with them, really. So it's just that first turn that's really scary for us. Myrrh crits one of these Cavaliers. It gives her a little bit of EXP, but her Dragonstone just has a decent amount of innate crit on it, so that's going to happen from time to time, and we can't really stop it from happening. You might start to notice that the boss room is starting to get a little bit crowded, so we would really like to finish this on turn 3. I still could not find a great boss kill, even with the Lance Reaver. We don't have amazing odds of killing the boss. I think I calculated like a 80% chance to kill the boss, which is like 1 in 5 times you still don't kill Orsin, and then have to hope that Seth doesn't die on turn 3 enemy phase, which is really shitty. But this whole map is shitty without the robes on Seth. So, and these priests are still being annoying by blocking one of Orsin's 1 range tiles, so Vanessa couldn't even use a better weapon for than the spear if she wanted to, like the Silver Lance or something. So she's just gonna have to hit one of these 2 spear hits, which is really annoying. If we had the Lance Reaver, usually Seth can kill Orsin with 1 Horseslayer into 2 Lance Reavers, but even that requires a certain amount of strength, which is really annoying. But Seth is gonna connect in 2 out of 4 of his Horseslayers. So that will be the boss kill, which means we can just safely warp Eirika at this point. Once Orsin's dead and Eirika is in the right place, we're basically good. Now I'm just kind of finishing things up and making sure that Myrrh gets as much EXP as she can. I have to Hermern the Warp Staff here, which is really weird. Usually you don't Hermern it this early, but I kind of budgeted my warps already, so I'm not super worried. I will have enough warps. Usually, if in an FE8 playthrough, you just don't end up even using all of your Hermerns on warp. But I will, just because I use so many in this chapter. I go for kind of a Mimi crit kill, or crit on this Great Knight to see if Myrrh could get a promoted enemy kill, which she did, which was kind of funny. Probably shouldn't have gone for this, just for EXP reliability purposes, but I thought it was funny, so I did it anyway. Myrrh's actually gotten some really good level ups too, which is pretty nice because I wasn't able to get the Menace Tome for her in the Desert chapter, which ideally I think you would do if I didn't need to get the body ring for Seth. And here, just counting out Eirika's spaces, dancing her with Tethys so that she's ready to seize. Everyone else is just kind of finishing up here. One thing that I didn't mention is I gave boots to Tana for this chapter. Partially it was for this chapter so that she could do that rescue drop on Tethys turn 1, because Vanessa was busy killing Mercenary, so I didn't give the boots to her. But Tana can also carry Body Ring Seth, and I had to give him a Body Ring so he could reliably double Orsin with the Horseslayer. So that's kind of nice. She will end up doing that in at least 1 more map. And the rest is just kind of everyone else chilling to get EXP here. I guess another thing that's nice about this chapter, quote-unquote nice, is that you don't have to warp Eirika up to the boss until Orsin dies, which is pretty cool. So you don't have to risk Eirika's life ever. It's really just Seth's life, and at least he has good enough stats to usually be okay. But yeah, that will be Eirika seizing, and that is chapter 16 completed in 3 turns. Now we're just going to promote Eirika and Ephraim for some of the dumbest looking stats ever. This is basically 0% gross Eirika, because I gave her like... Let's see, how many levels did I actually give Eirika? Yeah, 1 level. Literally 1 level. So pretty terrible. Ephraim's stats are also terrible, but I'm not really going to use him for like anything, so I just promoted him now in case I could get some use out of him in the next few chapters. But yeah, that is the end of chapter 16, and I will be back next time with chapter 17. Alright, peace out.